Hello everyone, you're about to hear a brief summary of the film El Ángel, inspired by the most infamous serial killer in Argentina's history. Enjoy. Our story kicks off in Buenos Aires, 1971. 17-year-old Carlos is walking down the street when, on a whim, he decides to rob a mansion that catches his eye. He breaks in, pours himself a drink, and starts rummaging through drawers looking for jewelry. After all, he doesn't believe in private property. He escapes on a motorcycle he finds in the garage. When he gets home, Carlos tells his mom that a classmate lent him the bike. Later that day, his father gets back from work and sits him down for a talk. He warns Carlos not to borrow anything ever again. He tells him to only use what truly belongs to him. Meanwhile, the young thief gives his girlfriend Marisol a stolen gold pendant as a gift. Carlos barely shows up to his new school, and when he does, he spends most of his time smoking in class and acting out. At one point, he holds a lighter dangerously close to a classmate's head. That classmate? A kid named Ramon. Naturally, Ramon punches him right in the face. Both boys end up getting dragged into the principal's office. Something's clearly not right with Carlos. He keeps trying to provoke Ramon, but deep down he's just trying to be friends. So he shows up later and offers Ramon a stolen vinyl record as a peace offering. Turns out, Ramon's a seasoned thief himself. And just like that, he decides to bring Carlos into his criminal family. That's when Carlos meets Jose, a guy who casually sits at the dinner table eating potatoes while cleaning a pistol. Carlos can't help but stare at the guy's testicle, which has somehow slipped out from under his shorts. Jose doesn't seem to mind. Instead, he hands Carlos the gun and invites him to fire off a few shots. Right there, inside the house, Carlos confesses something. He says he's a born thief, but here's the thing. He usually gives away everything he steals just to make people like him. That night, Carlos climbs onto the roof of a weapons shop and breaks in through the top. He loads up every rifle and pistol he can find. Ramon helps him load the massive stash into a car. But Carlos? He goes back inside to grab all the ammo too. When they return, Ana Maria, one of the gang's girls, is thrilled when she sees the haul, but Jose isn't. He's pissed. He scolds Carlos. He was only supposed to scope the place out, not steal the whole damn arsenal. Sure, Carlos may be a criminal genius, but he's way too reckless. One morning, Ramon hands Carlos a fake passport, just in case, along with a stack of cash, his cut from selling the stolen weapons. Soon after, the gang hears about a luxury mansion filled with priceless paintings. It belongs to a reclusive old man who never leaves the house, which means they'll have to rob the place while he's still inside. During the robbery, Carlos panics and shoots the old man. But the man doesn't scream. He just walks upstairs, stares at a painting for a moment in silence, then turns on the tap, grabs a towel, and sits on the toilet to die. Later, Carlos takes that same stolen painting and hangs it right above his bed. He sleeps with his revolver clutched in his arms. Not long after, the gang brings their girlfriends along to scope out another mansion, and this time, Marisol's twin sister ends up dating Ramon. The crew decides this new mansion is perfect for a little shooting practice, but the gunfire draws attention. The maid hears the noise and comes outside. She leaves the drinks near the patio, then walks off. But Jose is furious. He's still not over the last job, the way the guys killed the old man and then hung his paintings like trophies all over the hideout. Later that night, Jose walks around the house, taking them all down, one by one. Meanwhile, Ramon's mom has her eye on Carlos. She finds him interesting. For their next heist, Carlos breaks into a jewelry store by smashing straight through the wall. The first thing he does, he tries on a pair of earrings. Maybe he thinks it'll impress Ramon, or maybe even his father. Carlos always makes things complicated. So when he finds a safe in the back office, he decides he wants to crack it open. But Ramon refuses. Out of frustration, Carlos fires a shot into the ceiling. Later, the boys check into a hotel. In a moment of drunken generosity, Carlos gives a stolen brooch to a homeless man. But Ramon isn't impressed. He tells Carlos to stop flashing stolen goods in public. At a nightclub, Ramon points out Federico, a wealthy gay art collector. Federico could help them sell the paintings if he gets a little favor in return. Let him touch your junk, Ramon says. But before anything happens, the bartender shouts at them to stop with the gay business in his bar. Ramon loses it. He smashes a bottle over the bartender's head. Later that night, Federico invites them over to his place. Federico tries to back out, but once he realizes the boys aren't leaving, he gives in and leads Ramon into the bedroom. Of course, Ramon isn't actually gay. He's only doing all this for the sake of the job. But Carlos peeks into the bedroom, and for a moment, he envies Federico. At least, they manage to get rid of the paintings. By early morning, the two criminals return to the nightclub. The place is already closed. The bartender and a waiter are asleep in the back room. Without hesitation, Carlos pulls out both pistols and kills them both. Ramon is stunned. He rushes out of the club, completely shaken. Meanwhile, Federico starts promoting Ramon on TV. He's even on screen right now. But Ramon doesn't care what he's doing. He just wants to be famous and leave this life of crime behind. After the interview, Ramon calls his parents. But his criminal father? He's ashamed of him. He tells Ramon to seriously think about how he plans to earn a living. Meanwhile, Carlos's mom finally meets the gang. She thinks her son is working in their store. But in reality, he hasn't been home in months. She blames Ramon for leading him astray. Our sons shouldn't be spending time together. Shortly after, the boys steal another car, but just their luck, they run into a police checkpoint. Carlos pulls out his fake passport, but Ramon? He forgot his ID back at the house. The cops order them both out of the vehicle. Quick thinking as ever, Carlos quietly tosses their guns into the grass before they get searched. The officers pat them down, then bring them to the police station. Ramon is forced to give them his real name. Then suddenly, Carlos asks to speak to the captain privately. Once they're alone, Carlos pulls out a wad of cash and offers to go retrieve Ramon's documents himself. He leaves his own documents at the station, so Carlos heads home and returns with a bag full of money, everything he's got. But just as he reaches the station, he stops, hesitates, and drives away. He leaves Ramon behind and goes home. His mom just finished cooking his favorite meal, but his parents? They've lost hope that he'll ever turn his life around. She suggests they take a little family trip, but truth is, they can't really afford one. So Carlos drops the bag of pesos onto the table, but his honest father isn't impressed. He threatens to personally take the stolen cash to the police if Carlos doesn't do it himself. That night, his father lies awake, unable to sleep. Eventually, he buries the money in the yard. Meanwhile, Carlos retrieves his hidden pistols and starts tailing Ramon. Turns out, Ramon has a new partner, someone he met in prison. Carlos refuses to be left out. Carlos lies, saying the cops at the station tried to set him up. Miguel's a thief too, but now he works with Ramon's family and always hangs around the crew. Miguel recalls how Federico, Ramon's wealthy patron, was the one who bailed them out of prison. Then he starts cracking homophobic jokes. They looked like two lovebirds. Seems like the old man wants to take him to Paris. Later, the trio heads out for another heist. They block the road, stop a truck, and steal the driver's pistol. Ramon finds the bag of cash and heads back to the car, but the driver pulls a second gun from under his seat. Just in time, Carlos steps in and guns the man down, saving the crew. The criminals return home with their loot. Ana Maria has already taken a liking to the new guy, Miguel. She sends Carlos off to burn the getaway car just to get Miguel alone. Carlos crashes into a tree, douses the car in gasoline, and blows it up. But there's a sadness in his eyes because soon he'll lose his beloved little pie, as he used to call Ramon. And if Carlos can't have him, then no one should. One night, while driving a drunk Ramon, Carlos suddenly swerves into oncoming traffic. The next morning, police show up at the Peralta home and break the news to Ana Maria. Her son died in a car crash. Carlos, he walked away with just a broken arm. Now Miguel's left without a partner, and he's hungry, so he asks Carlos to team up with him. Carlos agrees, but he wants to go back to that same jewelry store, the one with the safe they never cracked. Inside, an overweight, harmless security guard is dozing off. The moment he stirs, Carlos shoots him in the face and gets to work on the safe. After a while, he manages to cut a hole through the back wall, but it turns out the safe is completely empty. While Carlos struggles, Miguel falls asleep. When he wakes up, something doesn't feel right. He accuses Carlos of lying, claiming the safe had money in it before. Miguel starts walking toward him. Carlos, true to form, opens fire immediately. Miguel hides behind a metal locker, but Carlos tracks him down and blows his brains out. Then, he plays with his face using a blowtorch. The next morning, Carlos steps out to buy some cigarettes. At the kiosk, he notices the police are talking to his mother. He doesn't panic, just walks straight toward them. They arrest him for arson, robbery, and double homicide. There was no point in resisting anymore. The gangster, now known across the country as the Angel, confessed to 11 murders and 42 robberies. The press gave him nicknames like the Angel of Death and the Jackal with a woman's face. Experts measured Carlos's skull. Psychologists tried to analyze his behavior. And of course, his parents were blamed first. They should have paid more attention, they said. His mother tried to play the piano to soothe her nerves, but couldn't. Turns out, Carlos had been using it as a hiding place, stuffed with cash and handguns. His lawyer advised him to plead insanity. But Carlos believed he was perfectly normal. At one point, he even swallowed a metal spoon, which could only be removed through surgery. While in the operating room, they left him alone for just 1 minute. That was all he needed. Carlos escaped through the window. Police were swarming the area, but not one of them thought to look up. He jumped down from a tree and walked off the prison grounds as the alarms blared behind him. Shots were fired, but Carlos managed to disappear into the night. He hopped a train and headed to Ramon's old house, where he spent the night. The next morning, he called his mom, just to let her know he was okay. Carlos told her where he was hiding and asked her to come meet him. With the radio playing, the curly-haired boy danced through the house, completely unaware that dozens of soldiers and police officers were surrounding it. Carlos Robledo Puch was arrested just before his 20th birthday. For 11 murders and a long list of other crimes, he was sentenced to life in prison. As of today, he's spent over 53 years behind bars, making him the longest incarcerated criminal in the history of Argentina. And that's how we reach the end of the video. For those who made it all the way to the end of the episode, please leave a comment so I know who liked it. And don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Bye-bye!